Your AC is blowing warm, and you've already recharged it twice with those cans from Walmart. It gets cold for a few days, then it's back to blowing hot. You're about to buy a third can, and I'm going to stop you right there. Those cans are not fixing your problem. They're masking it. And every time you dump more refrigerant into a leaking system, you're making the eventual repair more expensive. A shop will charge you $800 to $2,000 to diagnose and fix an AC problem, and a lot of that cost comes from replacing parts that were never the problem in the first place. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to figure out why your AC isn't blowing cold, step by step, using the same diagnostic process a good technician uses, so you know exactly what's wrong before you hand anyone $1. First, you need to understand how your AC system works, because without this, every symptom sounds the same. Your AC has 4 main components in a closed loop. The compressor is a pump driven by your serpentine belt. It pressurizes refrigerant gas and pushes it through the system. The condenser sits in front of your radiator behind the front grill. Hot pressurized refrigerant flows through it, and the air passing through the grill cools it down, turning it from gas to liquid. The expansion valve or orifice tube drops the pressure of that liquid refrigerant dramatically, which drops its temperature. Then, the evaporator, which is inside your dashboard, absorbs heat from the cabin air as the blower motor pushes air across its cold fins. That's how you get cold air out of the vents. Refrigerant cycles through this loop continuously, absorbing heat inside and releasing it outside. If any one of these 4 components fails or any connection between them leaks, you get warm air. Now let's diagnose. Before you touch anything under the hood, start inside the car. Turn the AC on full cold, fan on high. 3 things to check. First, is air actually coming out of the vents? If there's no airflow at all, your problem might not be the AC system. It might be your blower motor or blower motor resistor. The blower motor sits under the glove box on most cars and costs $30 to $80 to replace. The resistor controls the fan speeds and costs $15 to $30. If you hear nothing when you turn the fan up, check the blower motor fuse first. A $2 fuse might be your entire fix. Second, is the AC button light on? On most cars, when you press the AC button, a light illuminates. If it doesn't, the system might not be engaging the compressor at all. Could be an electrical issue, a blown fuse, or a pressure switch that's preventing the compressor from turning on because it detects low refrigerant. Third, listen for unusual sounds. A hissing sound from behind the dashboard when you turn the AC on can indicate low refrigerant passing through the expansion valve. A clicking or fluttering sound from under the dash can be a failing blend door actuator, a small electric motor that controls whether air passes through the heater core or the evaporator. If that actuator is stuck in the heat position, your AC system could be working perfectly, but the air is being routed through the heater core instead. That's a misdiagnosis that costs people hundreds, because the shop replaces AC components when the problem is a $40 actuator. Now go under the hood. With the engine running and the AC turned on, listen to the engine. When the compressor engages, it puts a load on the engine. You should hear the RPMs drop slightly for a moment. If you hear that drop, your compressor is engaging. If you hear nothing, the compressor might not be turning on at all, which could be low refrigerant triggering the low pressure safety switch, a failed compressor clutch, or an electrical problem. On older cars with electromagnetic clutch compressors, you can actually watch the center hub of the compressor pulley. When the AC is on, it should spin with the outer pulley. If the outer pulley spins but the center doesn't, the clutch isn't engaging. If you hear squealing, grinding, or rumbling when the compressor engages, the compressor bearings are going bad. That's a compressor replacement, which runs $400 to $800 with labor on most vehicles. There's another compressor behavior that confuses people. The compressor engaging and disengaging rapidly, cycling on and off every few seconds. You can hear it as a repeated click drop in engine RPM. That usually means the system is low on refrigerant. The low pressure switch detects insufficient pressure, shuts the compressor off to protect it. Pressure equalizes for a moment. The switch lets the compressor back on. It immediately sees low pressure again, and the cycle repeats. This is the system telling you it's leaking. It's not a compressor problem. Don't let anyone sell you a compressor when the system is just low on refrigerant. Here's where people waste the most money. Those $12 to $15 recharge cans from Walmart with the built-in gauge. They only show you the low side pressure. That's half the picture. To properly diagnose an AC system, you need both the high side and low side pressures. A set of manifold gauges lets you see both simultaneously. You can rent them for free from AutoZone or O'Reilly through their tool rental program. Put down a deposit, use them, return them, get your money back. With both gauges connected and the AC running, here's what the numbers tell you. On a 75 to 80 degree day, your low side should read around 25 to 35 psi and your high side should read around 150 to 200 psi. If both sides are low, you're short on refrigerant, which means you have a leak. If the low side is low and the high side is high, you might have a restriction in the system, like a clogged expansion valve or orifice tube. If the low side is high and the high side is low, your compressor is weak and not building enough pressure differential. If both sides are high, your system might be overcharged, which happens constantly with those Walmart cans because the built-in gauge is inaccurate. Now let's talk about finding the leak, because that's the real problem in most AC complaints. Refrigerant doesn't get used up. Your AC is a sealed system. If it's low, it's leaking somewhere. Period. There are 3 ways to find the leak. The cheapest is a bottle of soapy water. Spray it on every fitting, connection, and line in the system. If there's a significant leak, you'll see bubbles. This works well for larger leaks but won't catch small ones. The second method is a refrigerant leak detector, an electronic sniffer that beeps when it detects refrigerant in the air. You can buy a basic one for $20 to $30 on Amazon. Wave the tip slowly around every connection point, the compressor, the condenser, the lines, and especially under the car where the evaporator drain tube exits. If the sniffer goes off at the drain tube, you've got a leaking evaporator core, which is the most expensive AC repair on most cars because the entire dashboard has to come out to access it. That's a $900 to $2,000 job at a shop, even though the part itself is only $80 to $100. The evaporator is the one AC component that gives you a warning before it fails completely. If you smell a chemical, sweet, or musty odor every time you first turn the AC on, that's refrigerant leaking through the evaporator and being blown directly into the cabin through the vents. Some people describe it as a wet sock smell. If you catch this early, you know what's coming, and you can start shopping for quotes before you're stranded in August with no cold air. The third method is UV dye. You inject fluorescent dye into the system, run the AC for a while, and then use a UV flashlight to find where the dye is leaking out. It shows up as a bright green or yellow glow at the leak point. This is the most reliable method for slow leaks that the sniffer might miss. The most common leak points in order are the condenser, the compressor shaft seal, the O-ring connections at the high and low pressure lines, the evaporator core, and the Schrader valves at the service ports. The condenser is the most common because it sits at the front of the car behind the grille, exposed to rocks, road debris, and salt. A new condenser costs $100 to $250 and is usually a 2 to 3 hour job. The compressor shaft seal is second most common and usually means a compressor replacement since most shops won't just replace the seal. There's a component most people never hear about that plays a huge role in AC health. The receiver dryer, sometimes called the accumulator depending on your system type. It's a small canister in the AC line that contains desiccant, a moisture-absorbing material like silica gel. Its job is to remove any moisture that gets into the sealed system. Moisture inside an AC system is devastating because when water mixes with refrigerant, it forms hydrofluoric acid. That acid corrodes everything from the inside out, eating through aluminum evaporator tubes, compressor internals, and O-ring seals. Every time your system is opened for any reason, a repair, a line replacement, even just a Schrader valve swap, moisture from the air enters the system. That's why every proper AC repair should include replacing the receiver dryer, which costs $20 to $50. Most shops do this, but the DIY crowd almost never does, and that moisture slowly destroys the system from the inside over the next year. The evaporator is the nightmare scenario because of the labor involved in removing the dashboard. There are a few more things that cause warm AC that have nothing to do with refrigerant. A dirty cabin air filter restricts airflow across the evaporator so badly that even a perfectly functioning AC system feels weak. Replace it for $10 to $15. If it's filthy, that alone might solve your problem. A dirty or clogged condenser with bent fins reduces heat transfer. You can carefully straighten bent fins with a fin comb, which costs $5, and rinse the debris off with a garden hose from the engine side. If your AC works great on the highway but blows warm at idle or in traffic, check your condenser fan. At highway speed, air flows through the condenser naturally. At idle, the electric fan has to do that job. If the fan isn't spinning when the AC is on and the car is sitting still, that's your problem. Could be the fan motor, the relay, or a fuse. The fan motor runs $80 to $200. The relay is $10. The fuse is $2. Stop buying recharge cans. They don't fix leaks, they can overcharge your system if you use too much, and the sealant additives that some of them contain can clog your expansion valve and damage your compressor. An overcharged system is just as bad as an undercharged one. Too much refrigerant means the condenser can't fully condense the gas into liquid. You get higher than normal pressures, the compressor works harder, temperatures at the vents actually go up instead of down, and you can blow a high-pressure hose or damage the compressor. Worse, if you bring an overcharged system to a shop, the first thing they have to do is evacuate everything and start fresh, which costs you money before they even begin diagnosing the real problem. And those cans with the built-in sealant? Some shops will refuse to work on your AC system entirely if they detect sealant in the refrigerant, because the sealant can damage their recovery machine. Now you're paying for a full system flush on top of the actual repair. If your AC isn't cold, find the leak first. Fix the leak. Then, have a shop do a proper evacuate and recharge with a professional machine for $80 to $120. That gives you an accurate charge by weight, removes moisture and air from the system, and starts you fresh. That's how AC repair should work. Diagnose, fix the root cause, recharge properly. Not throw refrigerant at it and hope for the best. One last thing. If your AC has been working, but it's just not as cold as it used to be, especially on really hot days, there are 2 free things to check before you assume something is wrong. First, make sure you're running recirculation mode, not fresh air. Fresh air mode pulls 100-degree outside air through the system. Recirculation mode recycles the already cooled cabin air, making the system far more efficient. Most people don't realize that button makes a difference, but on a 95-degree day, recirculation mode can drop vent temperatures by 10 to 15 degrees versus fresh air mode. Second, park in the shade when you can, and before you start driving on a scorching day, roll down the windows for the first minute to let the superheated air escape. The interior of a parked car in direct sun can reach 140 degrees. No AC system is going to cool that down instantly. Give it a head start by venting that oven temperature air first, then close the windows and let the AC do its job from a more reasonable starting point. And here's a maintenance tip that costs nothing and prevents compressor failure. Run your AC for 10 to 15 minutes at least once a month, even in the winter. The compressor has internal seals that need refrigerant oil circulating through them to stay lubricated and flexible. If you don't run the AC for 6 months over the winter, those seals dry out and shrink. When spring comes and you blast the AC on the first hot day, the compressor spins up with dried out seals and you get an immediate refrigerant leak from the compressor shaft seal. People think their AC broke over the winter. It didn't break. The seals dried out because the system sat dormant for too long. Running the AC briefly every month keeps the oil circulating and the seals in good shape. It also helps defog your windshield in winter because the AC removes moisture from the air before it hits the glass. 2 birds, 1 button.